I guess time is the ultimate enemy of creativity.
Lights, camera, action.
Welcome to Cinema Dive. My name is Nathan, and I do want to apologize for the last couple weeks of being absent. It's been about a week and a half being sick, and another week trying to get all my finals done, and just not being able to have time to get in front of the camera and make any of these videos. However, with that week and a half, I did have a lot of time lying on the couch, feeling cruddy, so I ended up watching a lot of movies. And I was thinking I could do an individual video for each one, or I could just rapid fire the ones that I watched recently and just tell you my thoughts and let you know whether or not you should see them. So let's go ahead and start a rapid fire on these. The first movie I watched was The Menu, and I gotta say, this is fantastic. And it's definitely one I would say you need to go watch. It revolves around this small little island with a very fancy restaurant called Hawthorne on it, whose head chef is disturbingly well portrayed by the amazing Ralph Fiennes. This restaurant is obviously for the wealthy, as it is boasting an impressive $1,250 per person. And obviously we get a lot of celebrity types and some food critics that come along with kind of an oddball character played by Nicholas Hoult, who seems to be an extreme foodie. And of course, the character of Margot, played by Anna Taylor-Joy, who is our main protagonist in the film. The movie offers up this disturbing look at consumerism and the consumer culture, especially the food bloggers and foodies, and just the superficiality of the wealthy in general. And it shows the chef as someone who used to love the industry he was in, who's become fed up with how superficial the actual career has become, and he's just lost all joy. And is now basically punishing these elitists for turning art into something that is terrible. However, of course, we find out that Anna's character Margot doesn't fit in with the rest of the people, and so the chef gives her the option of being a giver or a taker, as he recognizes her as a kindred kind of spirit. The whole story plays out in this dark, twisted kind of horror thriller with a little bit of comedy adjacent style with it, and heavy plot themes, and almost a cult-like-esque appearance from its entire kitchen staff. It's well written, it's well acted, and definitely worth your time to go check out, and it's probably up there on some of my more recent favorite movies. The next movie is the new horror movie Megan, a story about a brilliant engineer who worked for a major toy company, making toys that are interactive and kind of Furby-ish looking. But she creates this life-size doll with an AI brain, which she ends up pairing to her grieving niece who recently lost her parents. And it's a two-pronged approach. She wants to help her niece, but at the same time she's trying to boost her career and actually test out the product on her niece, because they have to get it working, as it's going to boast a $10,000 price tag. Now, in all reality, I was astonished that this movie got a 93% from the critics and something around like an 80 from audiences, and I'm not entirely sure why. It was a good movie, but I don't think it was that good. It takes about an hour before anything sinister really starts happening with Megan, and only received a TVMA rating, which for me, horror movies should be pushing the boundaries of the rated R genre, to especially for the ones that have that slasher, Chucky-ish type of horror. And I end up looking at movies a little too logically. Apparently, all the toys that this company makes are pretty brilliant looking toys, but this toy is obviously an advanced AI brain, and yet she thinks about putting it into a toy rather than into something more beneficial to mankind. It throws me off. But of course, just like most AI creations in movies, it turns out to be bad, and of course Megan ends up being violent and vindictive. I will say though, it is worth the watch. It was enjoyable, as far as there's definitely a lot of creepy scenes. I mean, it is a big doll, so it has an uncanny valley feel to it, which definitely will throw a lot of people and just creep them out, especially those who are already afraid of dolls. And obviously did well because there is a sequel coming, and I'm hoping the sequel gets bumped up to a rated R so they can take it to the next level of horror. And of course, is any movie, it is not without its themes. It is of course discussing the whole work-life balance that Allison Williams, who plays Gemma in the film, who is the aunt to the girl who lost her parents, is trying to balance out her life in her 30s, being this brilliant engineer working for an elite toy company, versus trying to be this new parent to her niece. Also, it's a discussion about parents replacing themselves with technology in their children's life. But it is on Peacock right now, so I'd say go give it a watch. I definitely hope the second one builds on what they already have, but we'll see. Now, the next movie is a bit older. It came out in 2014, but I am a huge fan of the movie The Thing. It's probably one of my favorite horror movies, and so someone recommended I watch this movie. It is called Black Mountain Side. It's about a bunch of men who are on an archaeological dig up in the northern woods of Canada, and they find this ancient kind of shrine area with the culture that's never been discovered before. Now it's got the isolated similar feature to that they had in Antarctica in the movie The Thing, where it's extremely cold, hardly any daylight, and of course there is no help coming. A new team member arrives who is a doctor, and from that point on things start going wrong. Kat goes missing and ends up being murdered, and a few of their workers start disappearing. Soon everyone starts going mad, people start dismembering themselves, and it gets to a spiraling, out of control, thriller, mental, psychological horror kind of thing. The movie is definitely disturbing in its graphic nature, and like I said, it is kind of a homage to The Thing. However, it has a very jumpy and rash decision-making concept to its scenes, and there are some times where I just think that logically these scenes don't quite make sense, and sometimes it's hard to follow and keep up with. However, the filming was beautiful, as the nature that they were filming in, it just offers up the beauty of the gorgeousness of the Canadian woods. And I would say it's not a terrible movie, it's actually pretty well done, but definitely doesn't hold a candle to what The Thing originally pulled off, and is a lot more of a slow burn. The movie revolves around the mythology of the area, which has this type of deer god that all of them start kind of seeing and hearing, and it drives them to do terrible things. Now, even though this is probably the least favorite movie that I watched in the last week and a half, I would say it is far from being one of my least favorite movies of all. It's actually really good, and is definitely worth the watch if you did enjoy something like The Thing. Now, the last movie I want to talk about is actually my favorite of recent, and it is Next Exit. Now, originally I had planned and actually even filmed an entire video of this, and maybe I'll still release it in the future because it's definitely something I want to dive into, because thematically it was beautiful. However, controversial. In this film, a scientist has found definitive proof that there is life after death. She has proven that your consciousness can survive beyond the death of the body. And now they're conducting a study where they allow people to come down to their facility in San Francisco and basically become unalived while they research and study their consciousness. In this world, we end up seeing that there is a lot of mass unalivings, and kind of that role of people who are so depressed that they realize that there's something better afterwards, that they would rather move on. And then our two protagonists kind of portray different roles that a lot of us feel like we fit. We have our male protagonist, who is a kind of nothing left in his life, no one in his life. He feels unaccomplished, and he feels that doing this is something doing worthwhile of his life and helping out mankind, and that he feels good about. While our female protagonist, she has more of a battle with internal demons, things from her past that she just can't reconcile, and she feels that moving on is the only way to make peace with those. The film holds up kind of an ugly mirror to the entire world and the state of mental health and where it is taking us. And it asks questions of what do you think the majority of the world would do with solid scientific proof that your consciousness did actually exist beyond your own life. Not only is it brilliantly written, but it's brilliantly acted by the two actors in it, and it's an intense, kind of depressive drama with a little speckled comedy in there just between the conversations that the two protagonists have as they start to get to know each other on their trip to San Francisco from New York. And it's got a beautiful ending which leaves open-ended to interpretations of what the mindset is of these people. And it has a way of conveying meaning and getting the viewer to think and ask questions about their own selves internally. And I think this is a beautiful movie, well worth the watch, and I definitely think it'll get moved up somewhere higher up in your favorited movies. That's all I got for you guys today. If you do end up liking this style of video where I kind of fast fire through these movies, please let me know. I did enjoy this because it is something that I can put forth without putting too many spoilers forth, which sometimes I don't really like doing, but at times you want to explain a story which requires spoilers. But if you liked the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel grow. It helps me out immensely. Get down in the comments and let me know what movies you've been watching lately. What movies have stood out to you that have been fantastic that you think are being undersold or underplayed and aren't getting enough attention? Or maybe you watched a big blockbuster recently that you think was just fantastic, but let me know in the comments. With all that, you have a wonderful day.